the woman who trained me as a nurse spent 3 years secretly sabotaging everything I built because she couldn't stand watching me succeed. When she tried to publicly humiliate me on a live stream, my brother exposed the truth and the internet did the rest. The moment I saw my own face on that live stream, with 4,000 people watching, I felt my stomach drop so hard I thought I was going to pass out right there in the break room. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me start from the beginning. My name is Jess. I'm 31 years old and I've been a registered nurse for about 7 years now. I work in the ICU at a mid-sized hospital in North Carolina. 12-hour shifts, sometimes back-to-back, sometimes 3 in a row. The kind of schedule that eats your social life and makes you forget what day of the week it is. But I love the work. I've always loved the work. When I first started, I was 24 and completely terrified. Nursing school prepares you for a lot, but nothing really prepares you for your first code blue, your first patient death, your first time a family member screams at you because they're scared and you're the closest target. I was overwhelmed, sleep-deprived, and seriously questioning whether I'd made the right career choice. That's when I met Donna. Donna Whitfield was a senior nurse on my floor. She'd been at the hospital for almost 15 years at that point. She was in her late 40s, confident, sharp, and everyone respected her. When the charge nurse paired me with her for my orientation period, I felt like I'd won the lottery. She was incredible at first, patient, encouraging. She'd walk me through procedures step by step and never made me feel stupid for asking questions. She'd pull me aside after a rough situation and say things like, "You handled that better than most people with 5 years of experience." She made me feel like I belonged. I looked up to her, genuinely. I told my family about her, I told my friends, I called her my mentor, and for about 2 years that's exactly what she was. Looking back now, the shift was so gradual I didn't even notice it happening. It started around the time I got my CCRN certification. That's the critical care nursing credential. It's not easy to get, and when I passed the exam on my first try, I was thrilled. I remember telling Donna in the break room, expecting her to be proud of me. She'd been the one who encouraged me to go for it in the first place. She smiled and said congratulations. But it was this tight, thin smile, like she was holding something back. I didn't think much of it at the time. People have bad days, maybe she was tired. But after that, little things started changing. She stopped inviting me to grab coffee before shifts. She'd give me these looks when I answered questions during team huddles. Not angry looks exactly, more like she was sizing me up. Measuring me. One time our nurse manager complimented me during a staff meeting for how I'd handled a particularly difficult ventilator patient, and I glanced over at Donna and she was staring straight ahead with her jaw clenched. I told myself I was imagining things. Then the rumors started. A coworker named Terry pulled me aside one day and said, "Hey, just so you know, Donna told a couple of people that you almost gave the wrong dosage to a patient last week." I felt like I'd been slapped. What? That never happened. "I know," Terry said. "I was there, but she's telling people." I confronted Donna about it. Calmly. I said something like, "Hey, I heard there's a rumor going around about a medication error. I just want to clear it up because it didn't happen." She looked at me with this expression of total innocence. "Oh my God, Jess, I never said that. Someone must have misunderstood something I said. You know how gossip is around here." Maybe I was naive, but I trusted her. She was my mentor. She had taught me so much. Why would she lie about something like that? But the rumors kept coming. Over the next several months, I heard through various coworkers that Donna had said I was difficult to work with, that I had a bad attitude, that I cut corners on charting. None of it was true. My performance reviews were excellent. My patients loved me. My charge nurses never had a single complaint. Every time I brought it up with Donna, she denied it. She'd get this hurt look on her face and say something like, "I can't believe someone is trying to turn us against each other. You're like a daughter to me." And every time, I believed her, or at least I wanted to. The thing that finally started to crack the illusion was when I applied for the assistant nurse manager position on our floor. It was a big step up. Better hours, better pay, leadership experience. Donna knew I was applying because I'd asked her for advice on my application letter. I didn't get the position, and about a week later, I found out from our unit secretary that Donna had gone to the hiring manager privately and expressed concerns about my readiness for a leadership role. She apparently said I was talented but emotionally immature and not quite ready. When I heard that, I sat in my car in the parking garage and cried for 20 minutes. I called my brother, Marcus. He's 2 years older than me and he's always been my person. The one I call when everything falls apart. He works in it, does some content creation on the side, and he's one of those people who can read a situation clearly even when you're too deep in it to see straight. Jess, he said, this woman is not your friend. She hasn't been your friend for a long time. But she was the one who taught me everything, I said. She's the reason I survived my first year. And now she's the reason you're sitting in a parking garage crying. People change. Or maybe she was always like this and you're just now seeing it. I didn't want to hear it, but he planted a seed. Over the next few months, I started paying closer attention. And once I started looking, I couldn't unsee it. Donna was pathologically jealous. That's the only way I can describe it. It wasn't just me. She did it to anyone who she felt was threatening her position or getting too much attention. A new nurse named Kayla transferred to our unit, and Donna was sweet as pie to her face, but within weeks, she was making little comments to other nurses about Kayla's sloppy technique and lack of initiative. Same playbook. I started keeping a journal. Dates, times, what was said, who was present. Not because I had a plan. I just needed to feel like I wasn't going crazy. The situation escalated when I started gaining a small following on social media. It was nothing huge, just a nursing Instagram account where I posted about shift life, self-care tips for healthcare workers, that kind of thing. I'd gotten to about 12,000 followers, which in the nursing community is decent. A couple of nursing supply companies had reached out about partnerships. I was getting invited to speak on podcasts about ICU nursing. Donna found out about it. I remember the exact moment. We were in the break room and another nurse, Priya, said something like, "Oh my God, Jess, I saw your reel about night shift survival tips. It was so good." Donna's head snapped up. "You have a social media account?" "Yeah, just a little nursing page," I said, trying to downplay it. She didn't say anything, but the look on her face. I've seen that look on patients' family members right before they start screaming. Pure, barely contained rage. After that, things got worse, fast. Donna started making comments about my social media constantly, always framed as jokes. "Oh look, our little influencer is here. Better be careful, you might get too famous for us. Must be nice to have time for Instagram when some of us are actually working." I tried to laugh it off, I tried to ignore it, but it was relentless. Then she started reporting me to management. Anonymous complaints about my professionalism, about my phone usage during shifts, which was ridiculous because I never posted during work hours, about patient privacy concerns that were completely fabricated. Each complaint triggered an investigation, and even though I was cleared every single time, the process was exhausting and humiliating. I was working 60-hour weeks at that point, picking up extra shifts because we were short-staffed, and coming home to find out I had another complaint to respond to. I wasn't sleeping. I was barely eating. I started having anxiety attacks before my shifts. Marcus kept telling me to document everything and go to HR with a formal harassment complaint. And I kept putting it off because part of me still couldn't fully accept that this woman who had meant so much to me was intentionally trying to destroy me. That should have been a red flag. All of it should have been red flags. The breaking point came on a Tuesday in March. I was on my second 12-hour shift in a row. I'd lost a patient that morning, an elderly man I'd been caring for over several weeks who finally succumbed to his pneumonia. His daughter had hugged me and thanked me for treating her father with dignity. I was emotionally wrecked. I walked into the break room to eat something, anything, and Terry was sitting there with her phone. She looked up at me and her face went white. "Jess, you need to see this." She turned her phone toward me. Donna was doing a live stream on Instagram. She had about 4,000 viewers, and she was talking about me. She didn't use my name. She was careful about that, but she described me in enough detail that anyone who knew us would know exactly who she was talking about. She called me a young nurse who thinks she's too good for bedside care. She said I was more concerned with going viral than actually helping patients. She implied that I had made errors that endangered patients. She said I had fooled management into thinking she's competent. And then she held up her phone and showed a screenshot of my Instagram profile. 4,000 people were watching her try to end my career in real time. I remember my hands shaking so badly I couldn't hold my water bottle. I remember Terry saying something, but not being able to hear her over the ringing in my ears. I remember sitting down because my legs stopped working. And then I called Marcus. "She's doing what?" he said. I could barely get the words out. "She's on a live stream. She's telling thousands of people I'm a bad nurse. She's showing my profile." "Record it," he said immediately. "Screen record everything, right now." Terry was already doing it. She'd started recording the moment she saw what was happening. God bless Terry. Marcus said, "Don't say anything to her. Don't confront her. Don't post anything. Go finish your shift and come straight to my place after." I don't know how I got through the rest of that shift. I functioned on autopilot. I checked vitals, administered medications, documented everything I was supposed to. But inside, I was falling apart. When I got to Marcus's apartment that night, he was sitting at his desk with 3 monitors lit up. He'd already watched the full recording of Donna's live stream. He'd pulled screenshots. He'd saved everything. "Sit down," he said. "We need to talk about this properly." He showed me everything. Donna's live stream had gone on for over 40 minutes. She'd talked about me for most of it. She'd made specific claims about patient safety incidents that never happened. She'd heavily implied that I was sleeping with one of the attending physicians to get favorable assignments. She told her audience that people like me were everything wrong with nursing today. And her comments section had been eating it up. People were calling me names. Someone had already found my Instagram and started leaving hateful comments. A few people were tagging the hospital. "This isn't just mean," Marcus said. "This is defamation." And she did it on a public platform with thousands of witnesses. I was so tired, so bone-deep exhausted from months of this, from 12-hour shifts and grief and constant vigilance against a woman I used to trust completely. Part of me just wanted to quit, just walk away from all of it. Marcus must have seen it on my face because he leaned forward and said, "Don't you dare. She doesn't get to win this." He had a plan, and for the first time, I let someone else take the wheel. Marcus spent the next 3 days putting things together. He went through my journal, everything I'd documented over the past year and a half. He compiled the timeline of false complaints to management. He pulled records of my performance reviews, my patient satisfaction scores, my CCRN certification, every professional achievement that contradicted Donna's narrative. He also did something I hadn't thought of. He reached out to Kayla, the other nurse Donna had targeted, and Kayla had her own stories, her own documentation, her own pattern of being undermined and lied about. Then Marcus called our mom. Our mom is a retired paralegal, and she does not mess around. Within 24 hours, she'd connected us with a lawyer who specialized in workplace harassment and defamation. The lawyer, a woman named Catherine Chen, watched the live stream recording and said 3 words: "We've got her." While the legal side was being set up, Marcus asked me a question. "Would you be willing to tell your side of the story?" "What do you mean?" "A live stream, your own, just you telling the truth." The idea terrified me. I'm a nurse, not a public speaker. I'm comfortable in a hospital room, not in front of a camera with thousands of strangers watching. But Marcus made a point that stuck with me. She controlled the narrative for 40 minutes. She told 4,000 people her version of who you are. Right now, that's the only version they have. He was right. The comments on my Instagram were getting worse. People I'd never met were calling me a fraud, a danger to patients. Someone had tagged the state nursing board. My reputation, the one I'd spent 7 years building through hard work and compassion and missing holidays and working through pandemics, was being shredded by a woman who was jealous that I was doing well. So I said yes. Marcus helped me prepare, but he was clear that it couldn't feel rehearsed. "Just talk," he said. "Tell them what happened, be honest, be you." We set it up for the following Saturday evening. Marcus promoted it on his own social media channels. He has a decent following from his tech content, and he framed it as his sister having something important to share. A few nursing community accounts picked it up and shared it too. When I went live, there were about 800 people watching. Within 10 minutes, it was over 6,000. I sat at Marcus's kitchen table with my phone propped up on a stack of books. No makeup, still in the hoodie I'd worn home from my shift, and I just talked. I told them everything: how Donna had been my mentor, how she'd taught me and supported me when I was new, how things had changed when I started succeeding on my own, the whisper campaigns, the false complaints, the sabotaged job application. I was specific, but I was careful. I used her first name only, and I stuck to facts I could prove. I talked about what it's like to work 12-hour shifts in an ICU, to hold someone's hand while they die, to go home and cry in the shower, and then to find out that the person you trusted most is telling the world you're incompetent. I talked about the anxiety attacks, the insomnia, the way I'd started dreading going to a job I used to love. And then I showed receipts. Marcus had helped me put together a presentation, screenshots of my performance reviews, my patient satisfaction scores, letters of commendation from physicians I'd worked with, my CCRN certificate, emails from management clearing me of every false complaint, and side by side, Donna's own words from her live stream making claims that directly contradicted all of it. I didn't yell, I didn't call her names. I just laid it all out and let people draw their own conclusions. The comments started changing in real time. People were furious, not at me, at Donna. Someone clipped the side-by-side comparison of Donna's claims versus my actual records and posted it on Twitter. It went viral within hours. By Sunday morning, it had over 200,000 views. Nursing community accounts started sharing it. Healthcare workers were flooding the comments with their own stories of workplace bullying and mentor betrayal. It struck a nerve that went way beyond my personal situation. And then Kayla went live on her own account and told her story about Donna too. And then another nurse, one I barely knew, named Stephanie, came forward and said Donna had done the same thing to her 3 years ago, before I even started at the hospital. Stephanie had left the profession entirely because of it. By Monday morning, the hospital had received hundreds of messages. The story was being covered by nursing blogs and a couple of local news outlets. The hashtag Nurses Support Jess was trending in healthcare social media circles. I went into work on Monday with no idea what to expect. I half expected to be called into the office and told I was in trouble for the live stream. Instead, my nurse manager, Christine, pulled me into her office and closed the door. She looked exhausted. She told me she'd spent the weekend watching both live streams and reviewing the complaints that had been filed against me over the past year. "Jess, I owe you an apology," she said. "I should have seen the pattern sooner." She told me that Donna had been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. The hospital's legal team was involved. HR was conducting interviews with multiple staff members. I sat there in that office and I cried. Not the hopeless crying I'd been doing for months, relief crying, the kind that comes when you finally feel like someone believes you. The investigation moved fast after that. It turned out that once they started pulling threads, the whole thing unraveled. Donna had been filing anonymous complaints through a system that she thought was untraceable, but the hospital's IT department was able to identify the source. Every single false complaint against me traced back to her login credentials. They also found that she'd done the same thing to 4 other nurses over the past decade. 4 nurses who had either transferred, quit, or been passed over for promotions because of Donna's interference. The hospital had a serial saboteur on their payroll for 15 years, and nobody had connected the dots because she was so careful about targeting people one at a time. Donna was terminated. The official reason was violation of professional conduct standards and workplace harassment policy, but everyone knew the real story by then. Meanwhile, Catherine Chen, our lawyer, had sent Donna a formal cease and desist letter along with notification of a defamation lawsuit. We had the live stream recording. We had 4,000 witnesses. We had specific, provably false statements that had caused measurable harm to my professional reputation. Donna's response was exactly what I expected from someone like her. She went on social media one more time, this time in a tearful video where she claimed she was being bullied, that I had orchestrated a campaign against her, that she was the real victim. The internet did not buy it. The comments were brutal. People posted side-by-side clips of her original live stream where she was laughing while trashing me versus her crying victim video. They posted screenshots of Kayla's and Stephanie's stories. They pointed out that 3 separate nurses with the same story can't all be liars. She deleted the video within 2 hours. Then she deleted her entire Instagram account. Then she made her Facebook private. But the internet remembers. The defamation case was settled out of court about 4 months later. I can't share the exact amount because of the settlement terms, but I'll say this. It was enough to pay off my student loans and put a down payment on a house. Donna's lawyer advised her to settle because the evidence was so overwhelming that going to trial would have been catastrophic for her. She also had to issue a formal written retraction and apology, which Catherine made sure was posted publicly. In it, she admitted that her statements about me were false and that she had acted out of personal animosity. It was the most satisfying thing I've ever read. The state nursing board also opened an investigation into Donna's conduct. I don't know the outcome of that because it's not public information, but I do know that as of the last time I checked, she's not listed as an active RN in our state anymore. The aftermath has been complicated, if I'm being honest. I've been in therapy for about 8 months now, working through a lot of stuff. Trust issues, obviously. I have a hard time accepting mentorship or guidance from senior colleagues because part of me is always waiting for the other shoe to drop. My therapist says that's a normal response to betrayal from someone you depended on and that it'll get better with time. But there have been good things too. I got the assistant nurse manager position. They reopened the posting after Donna was terminated, and this time nobody whispered behind my back about my readiness. Christine personally encouraged me to apply and wrote a glowing recommendation. My Instagram following grew to over 70,000 after the whole thing went public. I've used the platform to talk about workplace bullying in healthcare, and the response has been overwhelming. So many nurses have reached out to share their own stories. It made me realize how widespread this problem is and how rarely people feel safe enough to speak up. Marcus and I are closer than ever. That man literally saved my career and possibly my sanity. He saw what was happening when I couldn't, he pushed me when I wanted to give up, and he helped me fight back in a way that was strategic and effective and honest. I don't know what I'd do without him. My mom, who had been quietly furious through the entire ordeal, sent Donna a handwritten note after the settlement. She won't tell me what it said, just smiles and changes the subject when I ask. I still think about Donna sometimes, not with anger anymore mostly, more with this heavy sadness. She was genuinely talented. She was a great nurse. She could have been remembered for all the people she helped and all the nurses she trained. Instead, she'll be remembered for what jealousy turned her into. I think about that first year, when she was patient and kind and made me feel like I could do this job. And I wonder whether any of that was real or if she was only supportive because I wasn't a threat yet, because I was small enough that helping me made her feel big. Maybe I'll never know, and maybe it doesn't matter. What I do know is this. I spent 3 years being quietly destroyed by someone I trusted, and I almost let it work. I almost quit. I almost walked away from a career I love because one person decided that my success was an insult to hers. And the thing that saved me wasn't some grand moment of personal strength. It was my brother answering the phone. It was Terry hitting the screen record button. It was Kayla being brave enough to share her story. It was my mom making a phone call. It was 1,000 small acts of people choosing to stand up because they saw something wrong. If you're in a situation like mine, if someone who's supposed to be guiding you is actually undermining you, I want you to know something. You're not crazy, you're not imagining it, and you don't have to fight it alone. Document everything. Tell someone you trust. And don't be afraid to show the world who you really are, even when someone is working overtime to convince them you're something else. Because the truth has a way of being louder than lies, it just sometimes needs a little help finding its voice. I still work at the same hospital. I still pull 12-hour shifts in the ICU. I still hold hands and check vitals and chart until my eyes blur. But now I do it without looking over my shoulder. And that, after everything, is the greatest feeling in the world.